Well, 1 month after this surgery, 3 more tumors had reappeared in my lungs. After 5 more months of chemotherapy back in El Paso, I was sent back to Houston, where they did 2 separate lung surgeries 6 months apart. It was getting to be pretty frustrating for me at this time because the chemotherapy had proven to be ineffective. This time, the incisions were made on my back between 2 ribs, and a portion of the rib was taken out in order to spread it open so the doctor can have access to the lung. The hard thing about these 2 surgeries was that I underwent 2 identical procedures just 6 weeks apart from one another. 1 lung at a time. About 1.5 months after my 3rd lung surgery, an x-ray showed that there were multiple tumors in both lungs again. Since I had been through 2 major lung surgeries, my doctors had decided to give me more chemotherapy, this time in the form of capsules, which were to be taken twice daily by mouth. And just to give you an idea of how expensive chemotherapy is, one of those capsules costs $30 each. And a box sold for $624. In March of 1995, I started getting pain in my lower back. A CT scan revealed a tumor in my spine. A tumor encompassing most of the lumbar number 1 bone, which is the vertebrae, the bone which is right below the rib cage. And this tumor was putting pressure on my spinal cord. I then received 13 treatments of radiation on my back to alleviate the back pain. My doctor decided to use more chemotherapy at this time to shrink the tumors in my lungs. By this time, some of the tumors in my lungs are in size about 3 inches. And while I was in the hospital, during that treatment, they performed another CT scan on my spine, and that revealed a new tumor, which was in my back in the tissue next to the vertebrae. 3 weeks after my last treatment, in August, my doctor discovered that the medicine was ineffective. I since have received 10 more treatments of radiation on my back, because by this time, the radiation I had received earlier wore off, and the tumor began to grow again, and this time the pain was beginning to be more severe. During a checkup last month, the doctor estimates that I have 2 years or less to live. I was curious to find out the doctor's estimate on how much time he thinks I have. Because of course, I know in my heart that God determines that. And for me, what a great comfort that is. I want to share with you just a few examples of how God has blessed us in this trial. Spiritually, most significantly, God has given me the peace that passes even my own understanding. Just to think of how I might suffer as the cancer progresses. Paralysis of my lower body, loss of internal organ function. Matthew chapter 6 tells me not to worry about tomorrow. 1 John chapter 4 says that perfect love drives out fear. Do you have peace with God? It was right here in this church where I heard a minister from Wales named Peter teach on Romans chapter 5. To me, the most desired gift we can have, peace with God. Financially, by His divine intervention, God has sustained us financially, even though our medical bills have been in the hundred thousands. One bill for $30,000 had been covered 100% by insurance. People have had fundraisers for my family. We've been given countless cash gifts. Even anonymous donors have sent us cashier's checks for as much as $1,500. Physically, after seeing a CT scan of the tumor in my spine, it's inconceivable that I'm still walking. My doctor's amazed at how well my body and my spirit have endured such radical treatment and surgery. He thinks that I'm crazy for working full-time in my condition. I know of 2 cancer patients who have died in 3 months after being diagnosed with cancer. Last month, I celebrated 3 years of survival since being diagnosed with cancer. This is not due to my own strength. I want you to know that it's because of God's grace. Well, I've spent all this time talking about myself. I've told you about my conversion, how I came to know the Lord. Then I've talked about my battle with cancer. Now I hope to deliver a message that will challenge you. In Philippians 1:29, it says, "For it has been granted to you on behalf of Christ, not only to believe on Him, but to also suffer for Him." Have you suffered for Christ lately? Have you encountered a trial in your life? Perhaps you're in the middle of a trial right now. Probably the biggest trial we face in life is our death. 1 Corinthians calls death the last enemy. I want to ask you something today. Are you ready to face the last enemy? What if you were driving home from church today and you were involved in a fatal car accident? Hebrews 9:27 says this, "Just as man is destined to die once, and after this to face judgment." Are you ready to stand before the judge, Jesus Christ? What will He see in your life that will warrant either His eternal favor or His eternal wrath? Seldom, if ever, do we ponder the issue of our own death. It's a topic we push out of our minds until we are surprised by it when a friend or a family member dies. In my experience, the most valuable information I can pass on to you is sharing what the Lord has taught me. 4 points I want to address for being ready for our own death or for facing a severe trial are these. 1 is to be holy. 2 is ask what instead of why. 3, have a Christ-like attitude. And number 4, give praise and thanks to God. I hope I got your attention by asking you some serious questions about facing your own death. I can clearly remember how it felt when they told me that I had cancer. A cold terror gripped my whole body. Then hearing that the cancer had spread to my lungs, I was so shocked by the news that I felt sick to the stomach. I would wake up at night in fear. I'd have to wake up my wife to find something. How would you feel if you heard news like this? If your life is not in order already, hearing news like this will certainly press the issue. Most likely the first issue to deal with is salvation. Are you convinced you have it? Like the American Express commercial says, don't leave home without it. In the case of salvation, you won't get home without it. Paul charges the Corinthians with this statement in 2 Corinthians 13:5. You can turn there if you would like to. The text says this: examine yourselves to see whether you are in the faith. Test yourselves. Do you not realize that Christ Jesus is in you? Unless, of course, you fail the test. The Greek word for examine in the first part of this verse is parazo, and it carries the meaning to try yourself. Kind of like the court term, to be put on trial. The Greek word for test is dokimazo, and it means to prove yourselves. Both of these verbs are in the present imperative active tense, which means continual action. A paraphrase would read something like this: continually try yourselves to confirm that you are saved. Prove yourselves constantly. The word prove here gives me the impression of being asked, so you're a Christian? Well, prove it. There must be evidence or fruit that separates the redeemed from the unsaved. This leads me to my first point. One level of proof is to be holy. If given a request from God, like Solomon was given, what would you ask for? Solomon asked for wisdom. You know what I would ask God for?